Hi, welcome to our presentation. This is Tamay Kuiper.
And I'm Jonathan Spector.
Today we are going to talk about mass transit in Los Angeles for our final project in climate change, energy, and the environment class. Our scope is going to be analyzing the dynamics of Los Angeles mass transit components and providing solutions to existing problems in LA. We are going to start off with the current situation of mass transit in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles city size is 502 square miles, comparatively large when compared to other metropolitan areas. They also have a very limited public transportation system with many different entities operating different companies, often non-transferable between each other. Some of those companies include LA Metro, which only have Metro Rail and Bus, Blue Bus, Culver City, which is only bus, and Amtrak, which is long distance or commuter rail. Also, there are very few dedicated bus lanes. This leads to very long travel times for buses, as well as very few protected bike lanes, which leaves very little incentive for people to ride their bike in Los Angeles. Also, no bicycle share programs, and a very small amount of rideshare programs like Zipcar. On top of all of that, the highways have very few toll roads, making it very cheap to drive, and parking is free, if not cheap, everywhere in Los Angeles. If we look at some statistics and compare Los Angeles to some national averages, we see that Los Angeles has an average travel time of 29.4 minutes when compared to the national average of 25.5. Longer travel times of 60 minutes is 11.9% for Los Angeles when compared to the national average of 8.1%. And when we look at these numbers, we have to also take into account that this includes the entire nation, so that includes rural, suburban, and urban areas, unlike Los Angeles, which is primarily an urban, suburban area. Carpool is a little bit higher, and public transport is also a bit higher, but again, not every part of rural America has public transport available. Now, if we compare that to other urban areas in the United States like Manhattan and Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and even Philadelphia, we can see the number of people that drive alone in those cities are much lower than in Los Angeles. So that leads to a great deal of emissions. And out of the total emissions in 2011, Los Angeles was responsible for 52 million metric tons of CO2. And about half of that, 24.8 million metric tons, stems from transportation. To reduce this massive amount of emissions, we need to reduce the amount of vehicles off the road. That is the easiest way of doing it. And to deal with the rest of the cars that are on the road, they should be converted to electric or hydrogen fuel cells to help decarbonize transportation further.
This is the current situation, and one might ask what should be done. First of all, we really need government support. Federal needs to provide the subsidies to pay for the infrastructure. States should set standards for public transportation and regulations for clean energy, and local to enforce by purchasing local sustainable vehicles. Actually, California led the nation by passing the first global warming legislation in the United States, the Global Warming Solutions Act, or Assembly Bill 32. The legislation requires California to decrease greenhouse gas emissions to 1990 levels by 2020, approximately a 27% reduction, using an enforceable statewide target, began in 2012. And Assembly Bill 32 also talks about transportation. For example, PAVLI regulation, which is a regulation for reducing greenhouse gas emissions in new passenger vehicles from 2009. And some early actions are strengthening the PAVLI regulation, truck efficiency, and tire inflation enforcement, hybridization of urban trucks, and TRUs. These were the scoping planned vehicle measures within Assembly Bill 32. On top of that, California also has SB 375, the Sustainable Communities and Climate Protection Act of 2008. SB 375 builds on the existing framework of regional planning to tie together the regional allocation of housing needs and regional transportation planning in an effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from motor vehicle trips. And here we can see the three major components of SB 375. Using the regional transportation planning process to achieve reductions in greenhouse gas emissions consistent with AB 32's goals, offering California Environmental Quality Act incentives to encourage projects that are consistent with a regional plan that achieves greenhouse gas emission reductions, and coordinating the regional housing needs allocation process with the regional transportation process while maintaining local authority over land use decisions. These are all great bills. However, we need more support from government, for example, in transit-oriented development and transit villages. So, what are those? Mixed-use zones combining both residential and commercial areas that are within a quarter or half mile of mass transit system, which will then encourage public transportation use and encouraging density near transit hubs. Another thing that can be done would be congestion charges, which are charging a fee on motor vehicles operating within the congestion charge zone in Los Angeles, which will then create revenue for the city to invest in alternative transportation and encourages commuters to consider carpooling more, buying electric vehicles, and using the subway, bus, biking, or even walking to work. And here we have a great video to share with you about transit in Los Angeles. So thank you. We have seen a couple ideas within Network LA program, which is a great app using within Los Angeles to utilize mass transit. Which brings us to ideal outcome.
Now that video was a good first start, but LA really needs to take a comprehensive look at its mass transit and to really develop a full system that can handle all the people that really need to take mass transit and really incentivize it by making it more efficient, more easy, cheaper, cleaner, and just all around better than driving to work individually. So the future is MTA. Los Angeles needs to create a unified mass transit authority that does not have all these hodgepodge of different companies taking initiatives and not in their backyard and preventing efficient routes to be created. So to create these routes, you need a comprehensive system of electric, high-speed rail, commuter rail, and light rail for long and medium distance commutes. To complement that, there needs to be an addition of a comprehensive system of electric and zero-emission vehicles such as streetcars and buses with its own dedicated lane for increased commute times. This is for more medium and short distance commutes. And to further complement that, a bicycle share program situated around these major MTA stops. This is for the shorter distance from each terminal or each MTA stop to the final location. In addition, a comprehensive bike lane should be put throughout the entire Los Angeles area, preferably protected with trees and other plant life to act as a carbon sink to further reduce any carbon that's in the air. And Los Angeles also needs to increase its sidewalks and make Los Angeles a more pedestrian-friendly city. In creating these hubs, you have a lot of mixed-use real estate following bus, bike, and rail and pedestrian traffic to work together and complement each other. Reduce the total number of lanes in Los Angeles by converting them to dedicated bus lanes, protected bike lanes, or truly high-occupancy vehicle lanes and electric or zero-emission car lanes. This incentivizes public transportation as cheaper, faster, cleaner. On top of that, create a comprehensive infrastructure of charging stations and hydrogen fueling stations to make it efficient and easy for people to transition over to a much cleaner way of traveling. Furthermore, to increase carbon sinks, parking structures should be converted to community parks or to green spaces, further disincentivizing free parking and reducing more carbon that's already in the atmosphere.
This all sounds great, Jonathan, but I think there are some challenges as well. For example, changing the car culture in Los Angeles is the major challenge. Los Angeles being a newly developed city, everyone is dependent on their cars. And funding for infrastructure for all the things that we have talked about is another challenge. We need government funding and private funding combined, and government and private commitments within those ideal outcomes. Creating new taxes is going to be another challenge, and private funding needs to be incentive to develop around these new hubs of transportation as tax incentives for businesses developing new mixed-use buildings in a certain radius of major steps. So here we see a Los Angeles Metro advertisement where gas is the villain and Metro is the hero. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.